All right, good evening. We are all set for tonight's broadcast stream of today's Health and Human Service Committee meeting at 6 p.m. on HPA-TV, Comcast, and Frontier Government Channels 96 and 6032. It'll also be streamed via hpa-tv.org, the HPA-TV Facebook page, and HPA-TV's Roku TV, Apple TV, and Amazon TV apps. It will also be rebroadcast and made available on the HPA-TV YouTube channel. So thank you everyone for joining tonight's meeting. I'll introduce everyone as they appear on my screen. So our first guest is Councilman Gale. Thank you for joining us this evening, Councilman Gale.
Happy to be here, as always.
All right. We have also the legislative liaison, Lydia Colon, is here with us tonight. We have Attorney Damar Osborne from Corporation Counsel. Of course, HPA-TV is here broadcasting. And we have Director Liani Arroyo of the Health and Human Services Department. So we call to order this meeting, and we're going to introduce 2.1. Mayor Bronin with a company resolution authorizing the city to accept a grant of $60,000 in funding for the Heart and Home Health Program. Director Liani, the floor is yours.
Great, thank you. Hope everyone's having a great evening and that they had a great holiday. This particular grant, well, both grants together, I'll just sort of talk overall about both of them and then about each of them individually. So both of these grants are from the North Central Area Agency on Aging. They are the agency that is funded through the Title III Older Americans Act through the federal government. They run a grant program every year that provides funding to local CBOs and municipal agencies to provide services to our senior population. Many of the senior services are housed within the Department of Health and Human Services, and so we've been a grantee of this agency for many years. For these particular set of programs, the first one, the Heart and the Home Help, these programs really focus on keeping our senior population in their home. In particular, this particular program focuses on providing in-home help for individuals who are in need and may not qualify for other services. So light housekeeping, cooking, things of that nature for a short-term period. We receive our referrals both from the hospital systems as well as community-based organizations and our senior centers. So the number of individuals assisted varies, but we generally assist about 100 seniors during the year, sometimes less, sometimes a little bit more. But generally speaking, this program is a program that we receive this funding. We have a match in our council approved budget for, and we contract with Hartford Healthcare at Home to provide the services.
Thank you, Director. I'll just, Attorney Osborne, if it's okay with you, I'll just move on to the next item, so that way we can, you can speak to both of them, Director Arroyo. So the next item is item 2.2, Mayor Bronin with the company resolution authorizing the city to accept the grant of $35,000 in Title III funding for the Keep On Living program. Director Arroyo, the floor is yours.
Thank you. So the Keep On Living program is a program that is administered through two of our senior centers, the North End and the South End Senior Center. And essentially it helps to fund some nursing services. So a nurse comes in once a week, can help the seniors check blood pressure, check their insulin levels or sugar levels, blood glucose checks. And then if they're noticing that if there's anything wrong, be able to refer them to their doctors, call their doctors, just to make sure that individuals are getting services quickly before things become very urgent. So this program also has been around in the city for many, many years, predating my nearly 5 years here in the city. And so we continue the program funding both the North End and the South End Senior Center with, again, not like a full spectrum of nursing services, but some nursing activity at the senior center to help our seniors if they're not feeling well, checking their blood pressure, that sort of thing.
Thank you, Director. And I'll open up the floor to Councilman Gale. You have any questions, Councilman Gale?
Yeah, a couple, thank you. And good evening, Director Arroyo, long time. Hope you had a wonderful summer. Looking at the first program that you mentioned, where the goal is to help seniors stay in their housing. And I, these are sort of general questions that I'm going to ask. One of the concerns that we're facing is that we have many elderly who are aging in home, who at the same time, because they're getting older, are unable to maintain their homes. And this, obviously then presents some problems. We end up with some blighted properties from time to time. You end up with seniors who fail to pay their taxes or because they're unable to, and then are facing tax problems with the city. And I'm just wondering, to what extent, as folks from your program are going to help people stay in their homes, they're either referring them to other services or taking note of the fact that, yeah, I'm helping them stay in the home, but the home could use a little assistance right now, because while we can keep them safe in the home, maybe nobody's taking care of the exterior of the home, for instance, things like that. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Absolutely. So our team does refer out before a home health aide is sent into the home. Our team will do an assessment with them, and that includes visiting the home. And during that assessment, they're looking for several things. Are they eligible for other programs that the city may have in terms of the health department? Are they not connected to a senior center? Potentially, you have seniors that are coming through referrals through other CBOs or through the hospitals. Are they not connected to other services? How can we connect them? In the event we see there are concerns that are raised, those things do come to the office, and there are discussions and conversations with multiple people within the department who have resources or are connected to other resources. And so there are opportunities to do that. Oftentimes, not just through this program, through our nuisance abatements or our nuisance inspectors, people that are going out and looking at nuisances, so overgrown vegetation, garbage, and things like that, that are not considered blighted properties. As you are aware, we have a separate program that we work very closely together around blight, but these are general nuisance properties that we're seeing. And when we find that they're seniors, we do work with Janice Castle and other players throughout the city to identify what can be done up to and including speaking with caregivers, speaking with family members. So it's not a perfect system because oftentimes there may not be programs that are available, but when it comes to overgrown vegetation, we have referred to the program that was working with the Mayor's Youth Leadership Program to come out and help cut vegetation. We work with the homeowners in terms of reaching out to grandchildren or children to inform them of the situation that their loved one may be living in, and working with them to let them and inform them what needs to be done on the property. So we do get often more involved than just saying, hey, we're here, here's 90 days of services to help you stay in your home. We have also brought in senior protective services from the state when there have been questions about things that have happened. So we do work and look at this in a much larger way.
Well, that's great. I mean, I would have assumed the same, but it's great to hear you say it. And I'm assuming that I know that Director Matthews through our housing department also has many programs, and I believe we have some CDBG recipients who one comes to mind. I don't know if it's called Christmas in April, but one of these groups that will go out and actually help folks fix up a house when it needs it and things like that. So I'm hearing from you that there's a lot of coordination between all of these programs.
Yes, there are. If we are in contact and we see something that is concerning, our first call is always to try and find a loved one or a caregiver first and see what can be resolved through that. And then if not, there's referrals to other programs, to city programs, to private programs. So we do make sure that it's not just about keeping a senior inside their home, but it's also about the larger picture as well.
Excellent, great. Moving on to the senior centers, you mentioned the North End Senior Center and the South End Senior Center. Tell me a little bit, what's the interplay between, like Parkville has a senior center as well. And I think there may be one or two other senior centers there. How are they coordinated in this type of program, if at all?
So we have 4 city-funded senior centers, 2 of which are completely funded by the city. So we will call them the city senior centers per se. So that's the North End and the South End. Parkville Senior Center and Hispanic Senior Center are their own separate entities. Parkville is its own 501c3. The Hispanic Senior Center is run by Catholic Charities. We partially fund both of those senior centers. So their directors are paid by us, but they also apply for their own grants to be able to bring programs in. And so the level of funding that we have through NCAA is quite limited. And so we do encourage them to also apply on their own. And they have, and I know that the Hispanic Senior Center has applied on its own for Title III funding, Older Americans Act funding through NCAA. I believe Parkville has as well. And as the opportunities arise to apply for grants for all of the senior centers, we do that as well. So we have, since I've been here, applied for 2 grants. Unfortunately, we did not get them, but we have applied for 2 grants that included all of our senior centers.
Got it. Okay, well, thank you very much. I have no other questions, Mr. Chair.
Excuse me. Got a frog in my throat, unfortunately, as soon as I came back on. Director Arroyo, you said that these 2 grants were tied in together. Can you explain how they go hand in hand?
Well, when I said tied together, I meant that they're both from the same funding source, or pot of money. But in terms of, they're not necessarily tied together, they're their own separate programs. However, there could be overlap in services. So we could have a senior that is at the North End Senior Center, and the nurse that's there through the Keep on Living program that provides like the blood pressure, glucose, and other checks says, wait a second, I'm concerned. That senior goes to the hospital, and that senior can then be referred to the Heart Home Help program. So that's sort of the interplay that can happen within the different programs. So that's sort of when I say tied together, how they could work together. We receive other funding from NCAA as well. The elderly nutrition program, we receive money for that through NCAA. You all approved recently the homeless outreach program for the elderly as well. So that's also through NCAA. They're all the same funding source, and their goal is all focused on seniors.
Thank you, Director. The other question, how is the structure of, in terms of the senior in the department? How many people are delegated to working with the seniors? Is it part of everyone's role? How do you or our department approach the senior services in general?
So I would say the largest part of our budget is senior services within the Department of Health and Human Services. Maybe not staff-wise, but in terms of money that gets put out into the community. So the health department is divided into 5 divisions. One of those divisions is senior and community services, and that houses everything that has to do with our seniors. So that includes the funding of the senior centers, all of the NCAA grants, and Dial-A-Ride. And so under the NCAA, as I noted earlier, we have these 2 programs. We have the elderly nutrition program, and then we have the new program that we just received funding for, the homeless outreach program for the elderly. So all of that is under there. And so if you look at that budget and you look at the budget of the department as a whole, slightly over $5 million. And when you look at the money that we're putting out just through the senior services, it's well over $1 million. So that does take, and that's money going out directly into the community, not staffing. So that, just to be clear, because you have Dial-A-Ride, which is a large number, over $500,000. You have the four grants that go out to, or contracts, because they are RFP'd, the 4 contracts that go out to each senior center. Over the past couple of years, they have been increased. Thank you, because that allows those individuals that have been doing this work to be able to receive raises, and they had it in a very long time. So that's probably $700,000 right there. I don't have an exact number. So you're looking at a large chunk of money that is of my $5.2 or $5.1 million general fund budget that goes to our seniors.
Thank you, Director. So with that being said, that was my last question. I'll take a motion to approve both resolutions.
Move that we send both back to council with a favorable recommendation.
Thank you, Councilman Miguel. I second that. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. So Director Arroyo, I do have another item that I'd just like to discuss, and I think it's relevant, and I apologize for not connecting with you previously. And I was just wondering if you could just take a second. There was an article in the Hartford Current this past weekend regarding the elderly homeless population and the $100,000 grant. It didn't come through Health and Human Services, but nonetheless, we approved it at council. Can you just dive a little bit into it, so that the general public and folks who are tuning in can be aware?
Sure, thank you. I'm sorry that it didn't come through council. I always appreciate being willing to have them go straight to council. This was one of them that needed to be signed expeditiously. So this idea for funding came from the fact that I'm just gonna be, my daughter saw an elderly homeless person and made me call a colleague to make sure that this individual was taken care of. And soon thereafter, an article in the New York Times came out about in Los Angeles, about the elderly and the increase in the elderly amongst the population of people experiencing homelessness. That led to a conversation with Journey Home. As you're all aware, through CARES Act funding, Journey Home was funded to create the Greater Hartford Outreach Team, and they funded Hands on Hartford, who is working both with Wheeler and with Connecticut Harm Reduction Alliance, to have evening outreach in the community and finding people that are unhoused and connecting them to services. When we looked at that data, we saw that there was a fairly large number, or a good percentage, let's say, of the individuals that they had assisted over the last, I think it was 15 months or so of funding, that were over the age of 60. And so we took that as a mechanism to say, well, if this is happening in other parts of the country, we're seeing it with our own eyes driving through our community. And NCAA at this point had also received additional dollars from the federal government to be able to do additional grant making, and they were looking for different ideas. And so we essentially proposed this idea. So we wrote this grant as a way to see, to provide individuals who are over the age of 60 and are unhoused with some more hands-on assistance in being able to manage the homeless services system and find ways to get them housed and taken care of. And I think you saw what Barbara Shaw was saying on hands-on, sort of the increase that they're seeing anecdotally as well from evictions, the issues that they might have in trying to access the system as well. And so this grant, we're in the process and we'll be meeting later this week to dig deeper into how we really want to position this program and do the work in a way that really focuses on those that are most vulnerable. As you're all aware, as you get older, things stop working. It's like a car, all the lights turn on. Our bodies are the same way. All the lights start turning on and all the aches start happening. And that's only magnified for individuals that are unhoused or living in their car or couch surfing or camping and sleeping outside. So we hope that this program will bring more light to that, find more of those individuals, since they do have priority on the shelter housing list, to be able to bring them into the shelter system and into housing.
Thank you so much for that, Director, and taking time out to do that. And we understand the expeditiousness of it. So with that being said, that we've gone over all the items and approved, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So move.
All right, so moved. So thank you, everyone, for attending today's meeting. I greatly appreciate it, and everyone have a wonderful evening.
Thank you.
All right, take care, everyone.
Good night.